This award is very important to recognize people that have used their great standing but go back in the community and give back. And so we're humbly proud to have it. You know, Bob Hope said it needs to be named after me, and so it's the Gary Stokan Hero of the Gridiron Award.
A couple of schools recruited me at defensive line, a couple of schools recruited me at fullback, and it was like, you know, what do we do with this dude? I don't really know what to do, and don't worry, they weren't alone because I didn't know what the heck I was either.
And Dave was a guy that, you know, we weren't sure if he was going to be a fullback or a three-technique nose guard kind of guy.
Coach Rick said he's tough, he's got character, and he works really, really hard. He's the kind of player like that we want to build our program around.
But it was that off season between his freshman and his sophomore year that we had three. I think we had two senior defensive endmen leave the program. And then one was a junior who declared for the draft. So we lost three defensive ends at the end of that first season, 2001, where David was a freshman. So we're like, we didn't even have enough defensive ends to line up for practice. So we're like, hey, we'll just take Pollack. He'll go hard at least.
Going into my sophomore year, so I'd already been a fullback. I'd already been a defensive tackle. Going to my sophomore year, we had four guys go to the draft. Four guys got drafted at defensive end. And so naturally, we had no warm bodies. So the qualifications for playing defensive end in spring ball was like breathing. And so I fit the criteria. And they're like, what about Pollack? And Coach Fab was my defensive ends coach. And Coach Fab is one of my favorite human beings on the planet. And me and him are cut from the same cloth. And he was like, I'll take him in a heartbeat. Like, I'll take him right now. So my first spring, I got to go play defensive end against first-round pick George Foster, second-round pick John Stinchcomb. So, like, welcome to defensive end moments is going against, you know, the best in the business and playing defensive end for the very first time in my life.
I was asked if there was one word to describe David Pollack, what would it be? The first word is pretty obvious. He's a man of deep faith. He is a dedicated Christian man who walks the walk and talks the talk. But if you're going to try to find an adjective, it would probably be intense, because David is intense about everything he does. He's intense in his workouts. He's intense in church basketball league. He's intense when he plays credit card roulette.
Yeah, his practice habits were full go. You know, his mom and dad did a great job of training him up to not be a slacker in any way, shape, or form. And everything he did it to the best of his ability. And he always pushed the envelope on how hard his teammates could go too.
When practice is harder than the game, I think that's a really good thing for you as a player.
Adversity doesn't build character, it reveals it. And to think about David Pollack being everything in college football. He's a college football Hall of Famer. He won every defensive award you could win in college football. He's a three-time All-American. And to be a first-round draft pick as a defensive player with the Cincinnati Bengals. And then in his second season to be injured where they had to fuse his vertebrae and he couldn't play anymore. Think about that, what you have to deal with emotionally and adversity-wise. And that's life. And then you fast forward, David having to deal with Lindsay, going through brain cancer and having to deal with that. And then you go through, you know, having a great career at ESPN, and all of a sudden they let him go. I mean, at 43 years old, the things that David Pollack has had to deal with from an adversity standpoint, and the character that he's developed to where he was able to, number one, create a podcast built on faith, but also a podcast for college football, which is his passion, and to write a book, The Won't Quit Kid. That's David Pollack. And then to coach football, to give back.
David is as fine of a person as he was a player, and that's hard to do because he was great, obviously.
If you are fortunate enough to call David Pollack a friend, then you don't have a better one than him. And I certainly feel that I'm in that category and am blessed to be among the people who can call David Pollack a dear and close friend.
But David Pollack is the only guy to have 0 yards in an interception and have a touchdown. That speaks volume about David Pollack. as he took the ball out of the quarterback's hands at South Carolina in the end zone for a touchdown. But David, you're lucky it was in the end zone, because I don't think you'd have made it to the end zone running back an interception.
In a shotgun, they got 4 receivers. They're on their own 6-yard line. Jenkins takes it. He's running through his own end zone. Stops. And we hit him there. Oh, wait a minute. Pollack took the ball out of his hands. Pollack scored a touchdown. He took it out of his hands as he was going to throw. David Pollack just took the ball out of Corey Jenkins' hands in the end zone, just a few yards in the end zone, and got a touchdown out of it. Let me see a play by.
Wow, I've never seen that before.
I never.
He just reached up and grabbed it right out of his hands while he was passing it.
He curled back in the end zone to throw at the dog bench, and just literally ecstatic as they pound him. Now we'll watch it. I got to see this. He's back in the end zone, 2-3 yards. Cocks his arm. He took it right out of his hand.
Wow.
If you look at an award like the Gary Stokan Hero of the Gridiron Award, that rewards not only someone who has been legendary on the field, but has been exemplary in terms of character, commitment, and giving back to others. This is a guy who certainly deserves any award and is certainly a worthy recipient of this award, named after just a tremendous individual in his own right. So David, congratulations on being the 2025 recipient of the Gary Stokan Hero of the Gridiron Award.